Okay, it being 5 p.m., the Lafourche Parish Council meeting of June 22nd, 2021 is hereby called to order. Ms. Corleen, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Adams is absent. Mr. Grow.
Here.
Mr. Melvin is absent. Mr. Wendell.
Here.
Mr. Arabi. Here. Chairman Oten.
Here.
Mrs. Chasson. Here. Mr. Lorraine.
Here.
Mr. Chasson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Corleen. I appreciate that. If everyone would please rise, we'll be led in the invocation by Councilman Grove, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Wendell.
Recite Our Father, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. Also like to remind anyone wishing to address the council during the public wishing to address the council, part of the agenda, can fill out a blue form at the door and get it up to the council clerk. We'll make sure that we recognize you. Additionally, we'll ask for any input from anyone wishing to on any ordinance. With that said, we'll move right into our agenda. Item A, approval of minutes. I'll now entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the June 8, 2021 regular session. So moved by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Item B, we have none.
No, sir.
Item C, are there any state and/or federal legislative updates? Any legislators here wishing to give an update to the council? Okay, it brings us up to item D, presentations and/or updates. We don't have any tonight. Item E, legal advisor report, none. Brings us to item G, public wishing to address the council public hearings agenda item. I'm sorry, I skipped F, engineers, architect reports. Do we have any engineers and/or architects willing to give a report tonight? Get in front of the council. First call, second call, last call for any engineers and/or architects. All right, now we go to item G, public wishing to address the council public hearings agenda item to consider. Ms. Corleen.
Mr. Zeke Mathern, if you'd come to the podium, Mr. Mathern, state your name and address for the record. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
My name is Zeke Mathern. I'm addressing about the CPA Oh, push.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Start
just
all over again?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please restate your name and your address.
Zeke Mathern, 3554 Highway 1, Raceland, Louisiana. The subject is Cyprian pumps. What kind of pumps we have in
You can address the chair. Yeah, right here. What you got?
What kind of pumps we have, temporary pumps, until we figure out what we're going to do with the 3 big pumps we purchased in 2016.
I don't know if that was answered last time or not about
I couldn't make
temporary
it because I
pumps.
was at another meeting.
Gotcha.
Yes, so we
Mr.
have,
President.
and I'm going to look at Dylan because you can correct me if I'm wrong, we have 2 or 3 portable pumps that are there. As most of you know, I think I communicated this to some of you, especially Bo. We're working through the process with Sea Level, who is going to be the apparent low bidder on the redo of the project with the pumps and the engines. As part of their contract, they have to bring in enough portable pumping capacity to equal what the pump station would be. So the pumps are probably about a 24-week lead time before we get them in, just because they have to be manufactured. So you're going to have enough portable pumping capacity there to make up for what the station would have.
And that's going to be on the backs of the
contractor.
The
Yeah.
contractor. Gotcha.
Okay, they got to be pumps equal to what the pumps they have now. We just had 2 inches of rain yesterday, and I had 6 inches of water above normal. So what we're going to do, like we had 10 inches of rain like we got in Slidell. So we're going to be on the water.
Let me clarify that. The portable pumps we have there do not equal the pumping
Oh,
capacity.
I know that.
When the contractor moves in, he will have to equal that. Now, look, if they have 10, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Zeke, when we had the big 12 inches of rain a month ago, ain't a system in the world can handle that. Even New Orleans is got a $1 billion
I do understand that. I really do understand, but we don't have, them 2 24-inch pumps you got right now, that's like a crawfish pond. We got 3,000 acres.
I understand.
You got 3,000 acres, and I don't know, a lot of the people in that subdivision don't even know these pumps are out. I care because I'm a recipient of the land, and I own a good bit of land, and a bunch of houses around that area. I care about the land. This is uncalled for. Other question I want to ask the council, when y'all abandoned that pipeline at that pump, did y'all get reimbursed for doing that work?
I don't have an answer for you, sir. We can look into it. That's old news. That was from a few years ago. We'd have to look
I
into
do
it.
understand, but that's $25,000 or $30,000 you can get.
Okay.
Did anybody can give me that answer?
We'll research it for you, sir.
Now,
And Mr. Zeke, I think last time I told you too, if you want to do a public records request,
I want that for sure.
Yeah,
I want to
so
do
if
that.
you can
I'm gonna
submit-
do that tomorrow or day after tomorrow.
if you can submit a public records request via
Where you gotta
writing.
fill that form out.
Miss, how does he go about the public records
I
request?
think if you look on our website, Robbie, correct me if I'm wrong, there's an area under executive where you can, under communications, where it says, address anything to our PIO.
TIO?
P
It's
as in
PIO.
Paul, I-O. Am I
What you-
correct,
what-
Robbie?
Yeah, what you can do is actually, when you leave the podium, you can go get with Robbie, our communications
Yes.
guy, and he'll tell you how to do that public records request.
Okay, there's no problem. But I'm just concerned, if we get 6 inches of water, we'd be dead in the water again.
No, understood.
You got two 24s, I know, because I went
So
check
right
yesterday.
right now we have three 30-inch hydraulic pumps there and running?
You don't.
Yes, sir.
You
We
got
do-
30-inch discharge. You got 24 suction.
It's considered a 30-inch D&D
No,
hydraulic.
no. Measure the props.
I'm not gonna argue with
I'm
you.
not gonna argue with you. I measured the props before y'all put them in, so they're 24 with a 30-inch discharge. So I'm just letting you know. If you paid for a 30, you better go get your refund. That's 24. Measure your
Okay,
props.
we're not gonna argue about it, but they are
Okay.
considered a 30-inch
Any-
D&D hydraulic pump. We have three of them there. The notice to proceed is for July 1st. There will be 100,000 gallons a minute between the four portable pumps that will be there, a little over 100,000 gallons a minute, excuse me, on, like I said, July 1st, which is the notice to proceed for the contract. They may be there earlier.
Just depends
That's
on the
less than 2
contract.
weeks.
Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
So,
Good?
not really, but that.
Well, I mean, that's all
Yeah.
I can do for you. If you want to go see our
I
communications
can do
guy,
that
then we'll
now,
move on.
or I can do that now.
Yes, sir. Right now, you can do it right now. Yes, sir. Thank you. What you got, Ms. Corleen?
Mr. Errol Sheramy, if you come to the podium, Mr. Sheramy, state your name and address for the record, sir. And please remember, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Errol Sheramy. I'm the vice chair of Lafourche Parish Drainage District Number 1. I present some things that came up. Last January, there was an emergency fund that was appropriated through us to get a job done in West 205. It has never been addressed. And it was an emergency basis. A public work director and a councilman in the area came over and asked for help, and we appropriated the funds for that because we had an estimated cost, how much it would cost. And I don't know what happened. I seen tonight that it's going to be brought up for bid. That's going to be another 6 months before it gets done. Got all elderly people in there. They got trucks that get in the canal. They can't get out of the street. The street's so narrow. We need some help. We're trying to help y'all. We spent $500,000 so far, 2 tractors, project at Cutoff Elementary, $50,000. This gentleman last week, we're assisting y'all. Now, I'm over here. That's the first time I've ever addressed y'all. I sat on this council over here already. I know what it is to be back there. Now, I'm asking for your help. Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Y'all going to come back for some money? Jobs ain't getting done. You ain't going to get it.
We're not going to get it from a drainage district?
What's that?
Mr. Arrow, right here. Mr. So you're saying the drainage district is no longer going to assist Lafourche Parish government?
No. The
Oh.
thing is, if the jobs don't get done, here, what you want to do? We'd come over here. You say, Errol, you're going to do this job and you don't do it. You going to fund me? No.
So that's on West 205, the one that's coming up for tonight.
Yes.
You have any specific questions, that maybe the administration could answer on that one, or just,
Well, I don't know
or you
why
just
it-
want everybody to be
I don't know why
aware?
it hasn't been addressed. You know, it's been brought up several times at our meetings and monthly meetings.
I got you. Does anyone from the administration, Mr. Dillon?
So in relation to West 205th, I received a sheet of paper with a handwritten PO from the drainage district on it. I'm assuming it's for that project, and if y'all want me to complete this project, I can, but I think I would get something a little more professional or in an email form. We have included it on our priority road list project, and I think that's what Mr. Errol's talking about. So the engineer has already looked at it, already given us a cost estimate. We are approving the engineering agreement tonight. As soon as the engineering agreement is approved, they're going to survey it and give us a recommendation on how to repair it. We do talk to one of the residents on that street. There's a lady who calls us every 2 to 3 weeks, keeps us up to date on the issue. She knows that if there's an emergency or a huge issue that is caused by this road, we will go pull it out. We will put 3 by 1.5 and some limestone on it to get it passable if it gets to that point. There have been a few vehicles that have gotten stuck. To my knowledge, all of them have been removed and able to pass again. So if it does become a tremendous issue, she knows to call us right away and we'll jump on it. Other than that, we are going through the proper procedure, and it is on the engineering contract through the priority road list project.
So you're in constant contact with residents there?
Yes, and I will say all of the other projects that Mr. Sheremy mentioned are currently underway.
All right.
Well, I was just bringing that admit, you know, it's kind of aggravating,
Understood?
you know?
Government is. And you know, because you sat up here.
You go around and around and around, you
Yeah,
don't do nothing.
I agree.
And like I said, it was brought up as an emergency. I thought it was gonna get addressed within the week, 2 weeks, on an emergency basis. What is an emergency basis? You come for some funds, you appropriate it, you got the PO for it, never done. I thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Arrow. Got anybody else, Ms. Crowley? All right.
I wanted to say something on that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Daniel.
This thing fell through the cracks. Dylan was at that drainage meeting when they appropriated that money. We're talking about a 10-foot wide street. And the lady, the girl that calls, it's for her mama. She's sick. And somebody went in the ditch again recently, and it makes it worse. So they had appropriated some money to fix it, but it never got done. Now it's on the priority list to get done. The problem is it should have been done. Shouldn't be getting done now. It should have been done already. Especially when they're going to give you the funding to do it. Come on. It fell through the cracks, and I'm sorry. And I told the girl, look, I did everything I could do. And they turn around and say, well, it's on the priority list. Yes, it is on the priority list tonight. But it's something that should have been done. I mean, they did Central Lafourche Drive. They're going to do 55, 56, 58. They did 217 in my district, 176. They did some all over. I don't know why this one just fell through the cracks. Somebody didn't do their work. And that's where we're at. Now, we know it's on here tonight. We know it's going to eventually get done. The point I'm trying to make is that, again, it should have been done already, and it never got done. With them giving you the funding. I mean, they give the funding to quite a few districts. Doesn't seem like they waste no time to get some of the others done. I don't know what happened there. But this is just a narrow street, 205, 206. I probably got 7 or 8 of them, but Terry can probably tell you, he's been down there. It might be 10 feet wide if we're lucky. And it's just a problem area, I mean, you know. But it'll get done on the priority. But the point is, and I don't want to repeat myself over and over and over again, but it should have been done, and it wasn't done.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Thank you,
can-
Mr. Lorraine. Mr. President?
I don't really want to banner with him, but.
Thank you.
You know, I get real tired of being up here and getting accused of stuff falling through the cracks when it doesn't get done on a certain timeline. You know, the drainage district has an engineer at their meeting, every meeting, and they have contracting authority just like we do. If that was big of a problem, the drainage district could have went do it by now. We're trying to do things the right way with engineering background and engineering science, and just because it doesn't get done on your schedule doesn't mean that it fell through the cracks. It means we're trying to do stuff right and follow the proper procedure, Mr. Lorraine. I hope one day you understand that I'm not trying to do it purposely, and I'm not trying to get you in an uproar, or anybody up in an uproar if you don't think something's moving fast enough. We're trying to do it the right way.
Well, it wasn't being done the wrong way. Well, they gave you the funding. You did the projects, all the ones I named. I know them all by heart because I make every drainage district meeting except the last one I missed. And they get those. I don't know why they didn't get that one. Like I said, I'm not blaming you, but maybe you don't like the term, it fell through the cracks. And that's what happened.
Is that it? You got some comments, Mr. Dillon? Go
I
ahead.
just want to know if the drainage district has submitted a formal request for it via email or a CEA for us to appropriate the funds to do this project.
All I could tell you, Barone, is that you were present that night, and you said you were gonna take care of it.
So
That's all I could tell you.
So I was not at that meeting, and they
Yes.
hand delivered a
Yes.
sheet of paper to me with a handwritten PO,
They-
and I'm just not going to operate on a handwritten PO on a sheet of paper.
Well, you can find an excuse for anything that's in my area, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. All right, moving right along. We are now going to move to item H, public hearing and ordinances for ratification. I'll now entertain a motion to open public hearing. So moved by Mr. Wendell. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Adams and Melvin. Item number 2, ordinance accepting the subdivision known as Settlement at Live Oaks Phase 3 into the parish system. This will be moved by Mr. Araby for administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 2? One time, 2 time, last call for public on item 2. Would anyone from the council like to discuss this one? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Melvin and Adams. Item 3, ordinance accepting the subdivision known as Elmwood Estate Subdivision Addendum Number 4 into the parish system. Moved by Mr. Araby for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Groh. Would anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 3? One time, 2 time, last call for public. Anyone from the council? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Councilman Wendell and Councilman Adams. Item 4, ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36. Oh, I said Wendell. I'm sorry. Absent with Councilman Adams and Councilman Melvin. Wendell, you realize you were here? All right, we good?
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. Item 4, ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places of the Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances to change precinct numbers as follows: Ward 1, Precinct 3A, and Ward 1, Precinct 3B to Ward 1, Precinct 3, and Ward 1, Precinct 5, and to further establish effective date of same and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Groh for the administration, second by Councilman Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 4? One time, 2 times, last call for anyone from the public, anyone from the council. There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 5, ordinance amending ordinance number 6160 that approved a lease agreement between St. John Volunteer Fire Department District Number 6 and the Parish of Lafourche for leasing the premises located at 2429 Parish Road, Thibodaux, Louisiana 70301, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Groh for that administration, second by Councilman Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 5? One time, 2 time, last call. Anyone from the public? Anyone from the council? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passed with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 6, ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places of the Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances to change precinct numbers as follows: Ward 6, Precinct 1A, and Ward 6, Precinct 1B to Ward 6, Precinct 1, and Ward 6, Precinct 5, and to further establish effective date of same and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Councilman Araby will move for Adams on administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Wendell. Anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 6? One time, 2 time, last call for public. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 7, ordinance amending ordinance number 6481 that authorize a lease agreement between Lafourche Parish School Board and the Parish of Lafourche for leasing the premises located at 450 Highway 20, Thibodaux, Louisiana 70301, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Councilman Araby will move on behalf of Adams for the administration. I get a second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone from the public would like to comment on ordinance number 7? One time, 2 time, last call. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 8, ordinance amending and reenacting Chapter 34, Article 5, Fire Protection Districts of Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances as it pertains to board member qualifications and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Councilman Grove will move on behalf of Melvin for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Anyone from the public like to comment on item 8? One time, two time, last call. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 9, ordinance providing for the incurring of debt and issuance of not to exceed $3,600,000, $3,600,000 aggregate principal amount of road sales tax District 2 of the Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, public improvement revenue bonds in one or more series, the bonds, prescribing the form, terms, and conditions of the bonds and the security therefor, designating the date, denomination, and place of payment of such bonds, providing for the payment of such bonds in principal and interest, approving and confirming the sale of such bonds, and providing for other matters with respect to the bonds. Moved by Councilwoman Chasson for the administration, second by Councilman Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 9? Mr. Block, please state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Chairman, Harold Block, 515 Canal Boulevard, Thibodaux, Louisiana. And y'all are moving along very, very rapidly, and I won't slow you down. Just to mention a few little items. Number one, the state bond, this is on 9 and 10, Mr. Chairman. The State Bond Commission has approved the issuance of both sets of bonds. Again, the interest rates have been pretty stable. If we went to market today, the rate would be about 1.25%. And lastly, the only other thing I have is that the bond, we anticipate issuing the bonds on July the 29th. So it's coming up fairly soon. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Block? No, we're good.
Well, I thank you very much.
Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Anyone else would like to comment on ordinance number 9? One time, two time. Anyone else from the public like to comment on this ordinance? Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 10, ordinance, a third supplemental ordinance amending and supplementing ordinance number 4116, first supplemental ordinance number 5173, and second supplemental ordinance number 6417, providing for the issuance of not exceeding $5,200,000 in aggregate principal amount of public improvement revenue bonds of Consolidated Sales Tax District A of the Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, pursuant to the general bond ordinances approving and confirming the sale of such bonds to the purchasers thereof, prescribing the form, fixing the details, and providing for the payment of principal of and interest on such bonds and the application of the proceeds thereof, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. This will be moved by Councilman Araby for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Jones. Would anyone like to comment on ordinance number 10, which was obviously drafted by a lawyer? It's definitely by a lawyer, not me. Second call for public. Last call for public. Anyone from the council? Mr. Lorraine, you have the floor.
Yeah, I missed it on the other one. I thought I pressed my light, but it doesn't matter. I'll just say it on this one, on this 5.2 million. That tax ends in 2027, right? Okay. Huh?
This set of bonds, along with all the other bonds that we have, are all set to mature in 2027.
Right. But I really wanted to talk about road sales tax too, but that's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Anyone else from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Thanks again, Mr. Block. Item 11, ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places of the Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances to change precinct numbers as follows: Ward 11, Precinct 3A, and Ward 11, Precinct 3B to Ward 11, Precinct 3, and Ward 11, Precinct 5, and to further establish the effective date of same and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Councilman Jones. Would anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 11? One time, two time, last call for public. Anyone from the council would like to discuss this item? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 12, ordinance amending a lease agreement between the Bayou Blue Recreation District Number 11 and the Parish of Lafourche for leasing the premises located at 200 Mazerac Street, Houma, Louisiana, 70364, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Councilman Arabi. Anyone from the public like to comment on this item? One time, two time. Last call for public on ordinance 12. Anyone from the council? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. I'll now entertain a motion to close public hearing. So moved by Councilwoman Chestnut, second by Councilman Grow. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item I, proposed ordinance. Mr. Wendell, you have the floor, sir.
Item 13, proposed ordinance to install drive slow, children at play, and dead-end signs on Victoria Court, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Ward 2, District 4, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary drive slow, children at play, and dead-end signs to be placed between 305 and 307 Victoria Court, by Mr. Jones on behalf of Mr. Melvin. Item number 14, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-017 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget to cover costs for demolitions through the year end in the amount of $75,000 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Mr. Jones on behalf of administration. Item number 15, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-018 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget, increasing the budget for Scenic Byway Overlook Project 07022 in the amount of $123,646.73 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Mr. Arabi on behalf of administration. Item number 16, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-019 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget for Head Start Grant Award Deobligate Project 21009 vehicle purchases and increased salaries and benefits, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Ms. Chasson on behalf of administration. Item number 17, proposed ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places for the Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances, correcting the polling location name as follows: Ward 4, Precinct 6, and Ward 9, Precinct 2, the North LaRose Elementary School, to further establish the effective date of same and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relative documents. Mr. Otan on behalf of administration. Item number 18, proposed ordinance amending a lease agreement between the Lafourche Parish School Board and the Parish of Lafourche for leasing the premises located at 175 Richarddale Drive, LaRose, Louisiana, 70373, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relative documents by Mr. Otan on behalf of administration. Item 19, proposed ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 236, precinct polling places for Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances, correcting the polling location address as follows: Ward 6, Precinct 4 to 2854 Choctaw Road, Thibodaux, Louisiana, 70301, and to further establish the effective date of same and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relative documents. Mr. Jones on behalf of Mr. Adams for administration. Item number 20, proposed ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places of the Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances, correcting the polling location address as follows: Ward 10, Precinct 14, and Ward 10, Precinct 15 to 177 West 55th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana, 70345, and to further establish the effective date of same and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relative documents. Ms. Chasson on behalf of administration. Item 21, proposed ordinance amending a lease agreement between the Lafourche Parish School Board and the Parish of Lafourche for leasing the premises located at 177 West 55th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana, 70345, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relative documents. Ms. Chasson on behalf of administration. Item 22, proposed ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places for the Parish of Lafourche, Code of Ordinances, correcting the polling location name as follows: Ward 10, Precinct 16, to La Rose Cutoff Middle School, and to further establish the effective date of same, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relative documents by Ms. Chasson for administration. Item 23, proposed ordinance amending a lease agreement between the Lafourche Parish School Board and the Parish of Lafourche for leasing the premises located at 13356 West Main Street, La Rose, Louisiana, 70373, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, administer said agreement and any and all relative documents by Ms. Chasson on behalf of administration. Item 24, proposed ordinance amending ordinance number 6506 that levied and imposed taxes for 2021 on all property subject to taxation in the Parish of Lafourche, Fire Protection District Number 9, due to receipt of updated numbers by Mr. Araby on behalf of administration. Item number 25, proposed ordinance amending ordinance number 6504, levying and imposing taxes for 2021 on all property subject to taxation in the Parish of Lafourche, Fire Protection District Number 1, rolling forward by Mr. Araby for administration.
Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate that. Brings us to resolutions. Item J, 26, resolution reappointing one member to the Lafourche Parish Children and Youth Planning Board representing the Lafourche Parish School Board. Mr. Lorraine for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Lorraine?
Mr. Bernard.
Mr. Bernard, can I get a second for Mr. Bernard? Second by Mr. Grow. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 27, resolution appointing one member on the Library Board of Control. Mr. Lorraine for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Lorraine?
One applicant, Ms. Carolyn Sully.
Can I get a second? Seconded by Mr. Grow. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 28, resolution reappointing one member on the Fire Protection District Number 8B Board. Mr. Araby will move on behalf of Mr. Adams for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Araby? Mr. Cortez, can I get a second? Second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 29, resolution reappointing one member on the Fire Protection District Number 2 Board. Mr. Araby will move on my behalf of the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Araby? Mr. Arvella, can I get a second from Mr. Arvella? Second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 30, resolution appointing one member to the Fire Protection District Number 6 Board. Mr. Grove for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Grove?
2 applicants, we're going to reappoint McLean, Mac, Chasson.
Mr. Chesson, can I get a second? Mr. Wendell seconds that motion. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 31, resolution approving an agreement between the Louisiana Housing Corporation and Lafourche Parish Council Office of Community Action for the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LAHEAP, fiscal year 2021, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, now the money can go out once this is approved?
Can the administration,
Thank you.
nodding their head, yes. Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 32, resolution appointing one member on the Community Action Advisory Board. Mr. Jones for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, at this time, Mr. Chairman, this is Christopher Richardson.
Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 33, resolution indicating the intention of the Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, to approve the 2-year appointment of the Director of Finance as a Director to the Board of the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority, the Authority, as provided for by Chapter 10-D of Title 33 of the Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950, as amended, and authorizing the Parish President to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 34, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement between the Louisiana Workforce Commission, Office of Workforce Development, and the Lafourche Parish Government to provide services to youth, adult, and dislocated workers in the region, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 35, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement between the Louisiana Housing Corporation and Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action for the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LAHEAP, fiscal year 2021, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the council like to discuss this? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 36, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the contract between Lafourche Parish Government and Lafourche Animal Hospital, extending the veterinary services contract for an additional 6 months, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Grove for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Anyone from the council like to discuss? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 37, resolution approving a lease agreement between the Warren J. Harang Jr. Municipal Auditorium and Lafourche Parish Government Office of Community Action for the purpose of quarterly commodity distribution in 2021, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone on the council like to discuss this item? Item 37. None. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 38, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Ardon Funeral Home for the purpose of providing funeral assistance, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 39, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and the Learning Bridge Career Institute for the purpose of providing tuition assistance, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. This will be CARES Act. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone like to discuss? All in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 40, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and the Learning Bridge Career Institute for the purpose of providing tuition assistance, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Fiscal year 2021. This will be moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. I was reading it slow because it seemed like I was saying the exact same thing again.
It is. That's why I put CARES Act in FY 2021.
Ah, fiscal year 2021.
A bunch of them are.
Cool. Okay.
So you could
That's why I was going slow. I was like, okay, did I skip
I
something?
figured that.
Yeah, his glasses kind of sometimes I see double. No further discussion. We'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 41, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and the Lady of the Sea Community Pharmacy Number 1 for the purpose of providing medication assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. CARES Act. Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, what is Lady to See? Is that down the Bayou? The hospital? I know they do, they have a pharmacy there.
Mr. President, you have the floor.
So if you notice, Daniel, there's Lady C number 1, Lady C number 2. That's the 2 different pharmacies. So whether they're all the way down at about a hospital in Galliana, they want to go to the one in the old Franks or Rouse's now, I guess.
Right, they used to do, they still do it by Rouse's?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Because I think they're in the process of, they bought some property and they're going to eventually build another one of the deals that they have down there more in the La Rose area, above the balcony somewhere in that area, on LA1.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Jones, go ahead.
Would that be the third one?
I think they're going to move out of the Rouse.
They're going to move on, so we still
Be
can
the
use
same.
this resolution.
Be the same company, yeah.
If they move, we'll just amend it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 42, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Lady of the Sea Community Pharmacy Number 1 for the purpose of providing medication assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. This will be part of fiscal year 2021. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone from the public, anyone from the council would like to discuss this? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 43, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Lady of the Sea Community Pharmacy Number 2 for the purpose of providing medication assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. This will be CARES Act. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone like to discuss this item? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 44, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Lady of the Sea Community Pharmacy Number 2 for the purpose of providing medication assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. This will be part of fiscal year 2021. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 45, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Williams and Southall Funeral Home for the purpose of providing funeral assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Melvin and Adams. Item 46, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Deauville Inn for the purpose of providing temporary housing assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. This will be part of the CARES Act. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Second one? Oh, no.
Say that again? Who, you have a question for the administration?
Yeah, on William South Hall deal. That's in like.
Hold on, you backtracking, right?
Okay.
Yeah, right now we're, hold on. We're on 40, yeah, we're on 46. We good?
Yeah, that was my question.
They have one in Thibodaux back on Cleveland Street.
Yeah, three locations, but
Office addresses.
it's in Thibodaux.
Thank you, appreciate that. So back, we were moving to a vote, that's okay. We were moving to a vote on item number 46. Mr. Wendell will be abstaining on this item. So with that said, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion will pass with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention, that abstention being Mr. Wendell, and 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Good, Ms. Carleen?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Item 47, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Deauville Inn for the purpose of providing temporary housing assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents, fiscal year 2021. Mr. Jones will move on behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention, that abstention being Mr. Wendell, and 2 absences being Mr. Melvin and Mr. Adams. Item 48, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Jake's Kids LLC for the purpose of providing school uniform assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. This will be part of the CARES Act. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 49, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Jake's Kids LLC for the purpose of providing school uniform assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. This will be for fiscal year 2021. Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? Move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. We are now at item 50. Resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Fletcher Technical Community College for the purpose of providing tuition assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. This will be CARES Act. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Abstain. Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. That abstention being Mr. Wendell, and 2 absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 51, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Fletcher Technical Community College for the purpose of providing tuition assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents for fiscal year 2021. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention being Mr. Wendell, and 2 absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 52, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and D&M Pharmacy for the purpose of providing medication assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. CARES Act. Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 53, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and D&M Pharmacy for the purpose of providing medication assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Fiscal year 2021. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. It brings us to item 54, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Nicholls State University for the purpose of providing tuition assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. CARES Act. Moves by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 55, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Nicholls State University for the purpose of providing tuition assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Fiscal year 2021. Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passed with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Melvin and Mr. Adams. Item 56, resolution approving an agreement between the Lafourche Parish School Board and Lafourche Parish Government to provide food services to Lafourche Parish Head Start sites, Raceland, Bayou, South Lafourche 1, 2, and 3, and the Myra G. Champagne, Lockport 1, 2, and 3, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chestnut for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention being Mr. Groh, 2 absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 57, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office and Lafourche Parish Government to provide food services at the following Lafourche Parish Head Start sites: Marydale, Martin Luther King, and Thibodaux, sites 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilwoman Chestnut for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention being Councilman Groh, 2 absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 58, resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between Lafourche Parish Government and the City of Monroe granting the use of local community centers to shelter Lafourche Parish residents in the event of a mandatory evacuation, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Araby will move on my behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Groh. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 59, resolution approving a contract between Lafourche Parish Government and David A. Waltz Engineering and Surveying Incorporated for for engineering services for the project titled Priority Road List 2020 Road Sales Tax District A Road Improvement Project to include Hodson Lane, Burma Road, First Place, Charnel Drive, and part of Choctaw Road, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any all relevant documents. Mr. Araby will move on behalf of Mr. Adams, who's absent for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 60, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Pisciola and Associates Incorporated for engineering services for the project titled Priority Road List 2020 Road Sales Tax District 2 Road Improvement Project, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilwoman Chestnut for the administration, second by Councilman Araby. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, this is about a $1 million project, or it's a very small project. So we should get some more with some of that bond money? Huh?
If it doesn't fall through the cracks.
No, it might fall off the cliff. You never know. I'm just wondering because we finally got West 205 on there, but this is going to take another month to go out to bid, and then probably another month before they do the project, right?
Probably at least.
Couple of months. So maybe we need to check out 205 just to keep it a little safe till we get to it. But it didn't fall off. It didn't fall through the cracks. It fell off the cliff.
Any further discussion on this item? There be none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 61, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement between Baraka and Benura Engineers and Consultants, LLC, and Lafourche Parish Government, extending the contract time to expire on August 14, 2022, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Grove for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion?
Is that
Mr.
the
Lorraine.
engineer from New Orleans, Mike, for the elevations and all?
Yes.
That guy used to come to the meetings all the time. I haven't seen him in a while.
It hasn't been that long. He was here a few meetings ago.
No, I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, he was here at every one, but it's been a few.
Okay, I thought that was the company. All right, man.
Very good. Any further discussion? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 62, resolution approving agreement between Witt O'Brien's LLC and Lafourche Parish Government for contracted services relative to monitoring of disaster-generated debris removal, management, and technical assistance, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I explained this in the summary, but just so it's clear, because the items read the same for the next 4. So Witt O'Brien is in the first position. Tetra Tech is going to be in the second position. So for whatever reason, Witt O'Brien can't fulfill their end of the deal, we have a second one. So it's going to be the same thing for the actual pickup contractors on the end too.
Very good, thank you. Any further discussion on item 62? Ms. Shessel.
Is this the same groups we had last year?
So the monitoring firm is the same. The pickup company is different because we had some issues with the pickup company. So I kind of flipped them, so we had a better choice.
Good deal, thank you.
Mr. Lorraine.
So like last year, we got caught with, you had the storm that hit in Lake Charles and it hit us, and you really couldn't get no trucks because they were busy over there. I don't know.
That's the point I have in the secondary firm. So if we get caught in that situation again, we have a backup plan to go to. It was last hurricane season was just a perfect storm. You had the issues in Texas, you had everything was going on in Lake Charles, and then Zeta rolled through us, St. Charles, Jefferson, and went up into Mississippi, and we all tend to have the same contractor. So it gets heated at that particular point. Typically, one person gets a storm and we done. This one was a little bit weird.
You're basically having some backup.
Yep.
That one didn't fall through the cracks.
Yeah, the state did the same thing. As y'all remember, Governor Edwards apologizing for the fact that we couldn't get tarps and MREs or anything because everything had been expired with all the resources on the other end. With that said, any further discussion on item 62? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passed with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 63, resolution approving agreement between Tetra Tech Incorporated and Lafourche Parish Government for contracted services relative to monitoring of disaster-generated debris removal, management, and technical assistance, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion on item 63? All in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 64, resolution approving agreement between DRC Emergency Services, LLC, and Lafourche Parish Government for contracted services relative to disaster debris removal and recovery services, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion on item 64? All in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes, 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Item 65, resolution approving agreement between Ceres Environmental Services Incorporated and Lafourche Parish Government for contracted services relative to disaster debris removal and recovery services, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone like to discuss item 65? Mr. Grove.
Just a question. So do we have any recourse when that happened? I mean, all these contracts have force majeure clause on disasters, and the disaster cleanup companies, so it's kind of weird.
So the biggest, they didn't do bad in the beginning. What we ran into the problem with them was they were still here over Thanksgiving. So they asked if they could leave a day early to have travel time to get home for Thanksgiving and come back. And I was like, sure, leave on the Wednesday, come back, they drive back in Sunday and start again on the Monday. We knew we had about 2 weeks left after Thanksgiving. Well, he decided at like Monday afternoon at noon that they were cutting loose. Didn't tell anybody, they just picked up the trucks and left. But we started to get calls because people, I think it was in Delen's district, and they were like, hey, we saw the trucks and all of a sudden they disappeared. You told us they were gonna be on our street today. So we had a nice little come to Jesus meeting when they got back. But we were able to switch around this year where those guys were not actually in the first position this year. So that's kind of the easiest way to get it fixed is just to switch the contractor sometimes and wake them up a little bit. But overall, they didn't do bad with the pickup. They actually did really well in the beginning. It was toward the end as the pile started to decrease when they didn't have as much work and people started to skate out early. They had a trouble in the back end trying to get everything picked up.
Very good. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Adams and Melvin. Item 66, resolution approving agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and GIS Engineering LLC for engineering services for the project titled Cyprian Drainage Pump Station Improvements, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Grove will move on Mr. Melvin's behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? There being, Mr. Lorraine?
I got a question.
Sure.
How much, where we at with that pump station as far as costs?
Oh geez. So by the time this
4
is,
million, 5 million?
by the time this is all said and done, we're gonna be close to about 5.5 million, which is completely and utterly sad, but.
And the bulk of that money came out of road sales tax A.
Yep, sure did.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Thank you, Mr. President. With that said, you can make a note at 1800 hours, that's 6 p.m. for you, Ms. Corleen. Councilwoman Chesson stepped out of the chambers. With that said, any further discussion on Cyprian? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 person, that person being Councilwoman Chesson stepping out of the chambers, and 2 absences, that being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Good enough, Ms. Carlene?
Got it.
All right. Item 67, resolution accepting the low bid of LA Contracting Enterprise LLC in the amount of $2,180,903 for the project titled Eastside Drainage Improvements, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any all relevant documents. Mr. Wendell will move on Ms. Chesson's behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion on item 67? You're looking at me, Mr. Lorraine, like you want to talk. You want to talk? All right. Okay, with that said, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays. Councilwoman Chesson having stepped out of chambers, and 2 absences, that being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Let the record reflect at 18:01 hours, Ms. Chesson has stepped back into the chambers. All right, we are on item 68, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Baker Pile Driving and Site Work LLC for the project titled Lafourche-Terrebonne Scenic Overlook, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Arabi for the administration, second by Councilwoman Chesson. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Mr. Melvin. Wait, is that it? Wow. Yeah. Thank you for all those resolutions, Mr. Jones. Item K, Parish President, Department Heads, Directors, our Managers' Reports, Presentation, and our Updates. Item 69, Finance Representative to present the monthly financial report as required by the state agreed-upon procedures for May of 2021. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have all gotten our monthly email with the financials, I think for April and May. But if you have any questions, Renita's here. And with that, I don't have anything specific if you guys have any questions for us.
Does anyone have any questions? If not, I'll just jump right into discussion so we can get each individual can address any concerns they have. So with that said, item L, discussion. Mr. Lorraine.
Made up your mind what y'all gonna do with the annex property?
Mr. President, you got an answer for that?
No. Miss Peggy approached us, I guess, a couple of meetings ago about the possibility of putting a park there that they were gonna try to raise some funds for. I haven't heard back from her, so I don't know where she is on it. Just for now, we'll just cut the grass on it and keep it up.
She had a call, I talked to her the other night, and she's still interested in trying to do that if y'all could work something out. And I kind of heard, but I don't think that was true, something about a Head Start. I mean, where they at right now, they got 3 rooms in the parish building on 308, and it's not even close to the highway.
Yeah,
so
no.
I just thought that was just a rumor or something. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Ms. Chesson. Mr. Arabi.
I just got a couple of things, let my constituents know that, especially in the Central Lafourche subdivision, the project will be getting started. I was notified by our Public Works Director that the culverts have been ordered. We attended the Drainage District meeting last week to see about them assisting us with the funds. And I want to thank the Drainage District for helping us out with that. Appreciate your help. And I did know that some of my outfall canals, like one of my outfall canals got cleaned, but I got several of them on the list that I'm waiting for to get cleaned. So whenever y'all get a chance to jump on those, I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Arabi. Mr. Grove.
Did y'all have the courthouse meeting?
Mr. President.
We did, and I thought about that when I saw you walk in, Mike. I never sent the email. So we met with Annette, Judge LeBlanc, Marlo, Judge Abel was on vacation last week, so Kevin was supposed to meet with her to kind of go over the final kind of litany of what was planned. So we should have something, by the time they finish the mechanical and the electrical components, we probably should go out to bid sometime in late August. So the biggest thing they're trying to figure out right now is timing. How do we do all this work in phases while Annette, the clerk of court, is still trying to operate, and then once we move over to the old courthouse and start changing windows and stuff like that, how are they going to facilitate that sort of thing while they're still trying to have court? So that's what the judges and Kevin are trying to work out right now.
Okay. South Central something popped up on my phone and it just went away. Was there supposed to be a meeting with South Central Planning about the 40 ARPA extension? I got like a meeting request and then I could not find it anymore. Is that?
So we met with them a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I was at that one. Is there a follow-up meeting?
There is. Heather's trying to, I think she tried to schedule it and then something came up and they're trying to reschedule it.
Okay.
Dylan and his group are still trying to research the right of ways and exactly how to make that situation
You
work.
might have pulled it back. Okay.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wendell.
Just to announce that Senator Big Mike Fazy is having a town hall meeting at the Bayou Blue Recreation Center tomorrow night for District 5 residents to discuss the legislative changes from the regular legislative session of 2021. Also going to take comments, concerns, questions at that time. So if you have something that you're interested in or want to be filled in on what's going on, it's going to be at the Bayou Blue Recreation Center on Mazerac from 6:30 to 7:30 tomorrow evening.
Thank you, Jim. And his office did reach out to me looking for a place in Central Lafourche, and I gave him some options. Okay. Okay, so there's a date. Mr. President, can you state that date? Well, All right, go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Okay, Archie, North Thibodaux nursing home. You got an update on that?
So the last time I talked to the administrator there, they were showing it to a couple of potential buyers. But to my knowledge, they haven't got a purchase agreement as of yet.
All right, okay. Also, Mr. Lafourche, canal on Coulon, North Thibodaux area. Can we get that dug?
Mr. Dillon, you want to answer that?
Yes, sir. We can work on that. I'll look into it.
Yeah. So we got a meeting in North Thibodaux community, has a meeting Thursday night, 7 o'clock, and that's one of the questions they got. Also, Lake Ricardo, had some work orders put in. The grass behind that fence, you can't put a tractor back there, but it needs to be cut. Some constituents getting some rats and all in their home, so we think we can get the trustees or the parish employees to cut that.
He's nodding his head, yes, Mr. Jones.
He did? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can work on that.
For the record, he nodded his
Okay,
head.
for the record, he's saying that. Now, for the record, the mayor of Waverly, Mr. Lafourche Archie, he want to reschedule.
I was there today.
You went by the mayor's house?
No, we didn't go by the, we met with a different man on Waverly, but Dylan and I kind of drove around and looked at a couple of issues. So, I know you kind of talked to Mr. Alvin a lot, so just like typically Tuesday morning's the best because they're both in Thibodaux after our staff meeting, so, or we can pick a different day if that doesn't work for Mr. Alvin. I know you're watching, Mr. Alvin. So we'll
Okay,
get to you.
you got it, Mr. Allen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. President.
Yeah, so Senator Fazy, Monday, July 28th will be at the Cutoff Youth Center. And then on Thursday, July 1st, he will be at the Lockport Community Center from 6:30 to 7:30. The
In
Northwest,
cutoff, excuse me,
ahead.
Margie, in cutoff, he'll be 6 to 7.
perfect. I know Jim shared it to his Facebook page, so it's starting to circulate. On the 29th of June at 6:30 PM at the Chack Bay Fairgrounds, and I'm gonna say this because T-Boo's not here, the North Lafourche Levy District is gonna host a meeting with the Shoepick residents, post all the backwater flooding issues we had there, to really talk about levee alignments and some of the issues. So anybody from the 6th Ward area who's watching, who hadn't found out about that yet, there's your chance to go and work with them. Other than that, things have been pretty smooth. If you guys walked around the building today, Centos finally did start to install first aid cabinets and defibrillators in all of the parish field offices and the 3 main complexes. After we lost our employee in Galliano to a massive heart attack, we made the decision to pull that trigger. Might have not been able to save him, but at least we could have tried if we'd had the proper equipment there. So we made the move to put that in all the facilities. All of our employees over the last several weeks have been going through CPR and AED certification trainings, so they'll know how to use them if something happens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank you for that report. I was notified that you had installed AED and first aid, so I appreciate that. Of course, this is one of my buildings as fire chief. With that said, can you give us an update on the chambers, where we stand with the insurance, and where we're at?
Yeah, so the insurance company approved everything. We had sent them all the videos. Leon in Buildings and Maintenance is working on getting the quotes to actually come back in and install the carpet. So I'm hoping by the next meeting, we should have flooring and molding back up.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
One more. I talked about the courthouse. So we did meet with Dr. King and the coroner's office staff about the morgue.
Okay, you beat me to the punch.
I knew it was
next on my
coming too. I
list.
knew Terry was looking at me. We finalized kind of their site plan, exactly what they needed in the building. So they're going to be running about the same schedule as the courthouse. So probably in August, we should have a project out to bid and start construction somewhere around September.
Is the coroner staff all aware of what's going on? They were
Yep.
involved in?
Yeah, so Dr. King was actually there. Jamie wasn't, she was out. So Kayla and Danielle, Ms. Danielle, who's there every day, have kind of been the driving force behind it. So once we get that project out to bid, we're going to cut Andy loose on the old building. So by the time the new building's done, we'll be able to move some things over and then start gutting and redoing the old building as well.
Very good. I appreciate that because they have been very busy, it seems like, for a while now, unfortunately. Mr. Dillon, any chance you can give an update on the La Rose flood wall project?
Yes, sir. So the plans have been fully reviewed. I sent comments back to the engineer. We are trying to schedule a time to meet. We missed each other last week. I had a schedule conflict. He had a schedule conflict. So we are trying to meet this week. But in the meantime, due to us missing meetings, I did send him a list of items that we'd like to address so he can start working on it.
Appreciate that update. And it
Yes,
was
sir.
pretty thorough. I thank you for copying me on that and a lot of those culvert sizing and all that. So we appreciate that. We'll get there one day. I know it's years in the making. I also want to thank Robbie. I know he was out at the elevated boardwalk down in Lockport last week doing a little video with representatives of the Louisiana Irish kind of preservation group. For those who haven't seen it, they've really taken the initiative as volunteers to get out and plant native Louisiana irises around the elevated boardwalk that was built back in, or opened around 2014. I would ask Archie, maybe if y'all can consider going back, look at, it's like a 440 foot elevated boardwalk. And there was a second phase, which was another 2,500 foot, which was going to be a loop through the swamp, because the elevated boardwalk stops at the cypress swamp. The 2,500 was going to bring it all the way around. And I did ask them to come and give a presentation to everyone here of just pictures, because I know sometimes we get bored with all the numbers and stuff, but the pictures are pretty impressive on some of the animals they've seen. Pretty much every animal you can imagine in South Louisiana, they've seen off that elevated boardwalk. It's pretty impressive when you see the photos. So I did ask them. And hopefully we could engage, and I don't know if a grant writer, Louisiana Recreational Trails Program, because they are initially the ones who helped get that program kicked off.
And I know Jay Wayne was the
Yes,
or the
he
engineer who
was.
did that. I'm probably gonna see him tomorrow down at the port. So I'll ask him if he can kind of pull those cost estimates and kind of update them for us, and then we can look in the recreational trails.
Good. The last thing is, I know there's been a few emails exchanged about the school board and us, the redistricting, which we have to do before the next election cycle. So I don't think that meeting has occurred yet, but they are starting to propose dates. So those who were picked or assigned, so July 1st will be the first meeting.
6 o'clock in the chambers here.
So 6 p.m., July 1st in these chambers, and it's open if any other council member wants to be here present to listen to the proceedings. And that's about redistricting. And hopefully when the school board reduces down to 9 members, it'll be pretty much in alignment with the council, make it easy for our constituents to understand who their representative is. With that said, I have no other discussions. I'll move to item M, adjournment. I will entertain a motion, so moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Grow, that there is no further business. The Lafourche Parish Council regular meeting of June 22nd, 2021 will be adjourned at 1814 hours. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Adams and Melvin. Thank you.